Hey YouTube, this is The Art of Prepping. So what's the deal with everyone thinking that they're a survival expert? This is the part that really kind of makes me, well, I don't want to say I laugh about it because it's kind of sad, but it makes my head twitch a little bit. And over the decades of reading in forums, even in various books, people come off like, what? And of course, you got YouTube and all the other social medias like Facebook and stuff that you can't walk 3 steps or you can't even read more than 3 or 4 lines. And you got someone when it comes to this kind of topic say that they know everything and this is how you should do everything. I'll be the first to know that I don't do that. I just try to tell you a little bit I know and I put it out there. I'm no expert at all. Hopefully, though, you would see, though, that I probably have a little more knowledge than the average person just because I've researched it probably a lot more than the average person. So that's all the reason that I know what I know. But I am by no means some kind of expert. But even that word expert, how do you even know who is an expert? There's no criteria. There's no degree that you can get in, no certification that I know of that makes you an expert survivalist. There are people who have weathered certain adversity, though, that I will say that may qualify them in certain categories of being maybe an authority on the subject matter. But I don't even know how you would even come to that conclusion that you're an expert. Now, someone like Dave Canterbury at the Pathfinder School, people would argue, well, isn't he an expert? He probably knows probably 99% more than the average person on the subject matter. I would agree. I mean, wholeheartedly. Especially when it comes to pioneering and homesteading and who God knows what he knows. He probably could write books for the rest of his life and never get it all out of his head. But the whole thing, though, is that, yes, he probably is, by most people's standard, an expert. But has he been tried and true? Has he gone out for a month and tried to just live on the land purely? Maybe he has, and I don't know about it, but I would say that he could probably outlast probably over 90% of the population. I wouldn't doubt it at all. But talking about other people like Bear Grylls, for example, is he a survival expert? He's been kind of caught in some of his things that he said is not maybe the best advice. He's more of an adventure type of survivalist, if you even want to call him a survivalist. He comes off, though, with some of his gear and through the marketing, through his other brands, especially through Gerber, that they're survival gear. So you kind of wonder if this is all survival gear. Is he a survival expert? Because wouldn't you have to be an expert or some kind of authority on the matter to give away and to create products for survival? And so I guess, you could say that his military background and his special training and all this stuff and, being a leader at the Boy Scouts qualifies him as probably being a survival expert or a woodsman expert or an outdoors, I guess, some type of advanced person or expert too. But how do you know? So, I guess you can just say that it is subjective depending on your definition or your criteria. But I think that for the most of us, we shouldn't get stuck on titles of who and who isn't so much an expert. It is about what they're telling you, and is it valid or not? Is it true? Can you verify it? Can you go out and do it and it works? Is it really information that is usable to begin with and not just a bunch of random facts that you don't even know what to do with? And so hopefully my channel is trying to do that on some level. I don't think I'm some expert. I just simply am someone who's looked into the matter of this particular topic. More so prepping, though, than what you would call hardcore survival. I don't even like the word survival because it kind of connotations with the survival word. There's those connotations, though, refer to me as someone who's just trying to get by and not die when you survive. Prepping, though, kind of lends a little more toward homesteading or a longer-term pioneering. It's kind of like that continuation, so it's a long-term thing. Not that you can't say that survivalist couldn't just survive for a long period, but, and going back to the cliche definitions and stuff, people say, well, why would you want to survive if you could thrive? And all those little things, we all hear about it, but obviously you want to thrive. Some people just prefer that mentality of, I want to be a survivalist, and they have core skills and they just want to be referred to that. And we've talked about in videos about the definitions and stuff of different types of groups of people in this genre. But I think overall, though, we have to be mindful, though, of just the information, of how truth it is, how truthful, is the gear applicable to us? Is the skills being shown applicable to us? Is the knowledge valuable? And sometimes you don't know until you try it out. That's why people who just sit at home and type away on their keyboard and don't go out in the woods and don't even try their packs out. They don't even know what's in their packs, or they haven't even undone the wrapping on their gear, and they just want to keep it in pristine condition. Then when they need it, they don't know how to use it, and they don't know what sometimes you can even use it for. But they saw it on an infomercial. They saw Bear Grylls wave it around in his hands, and they go, wow, if Bear Grylls has it, he's a survival expert, and so he must know what he's doing. And so I need to get one of those. Well, maybe he could be a survival expert. Maybe he really is. And maybe he happens just to know how to use that tool because maybe he had help or, had influence in the design of that product. So I'd sure hope that he knows how to use it. But just because he knows how to use it doesn't mean that you know how to use it. So this is just like this big circular talk almost sometimes. You hear these people, especially even on my channel, you need to kind of like do more homework or something and learn more. What you're saying is like not truthful or somewhat true or whatever. And then you look at their channel, they have no videos and they have no specific comments toward what you're even talking about. Some of my videos go on and on and on, and it's like, okay, what part of the video did you have a problem with? And no response. And so you get a lot of idiots out there that pop in and out of the channel, like to cause problems. And this is on every kind of channel. I've talked to a few people recently that have really large YouTube channels, and I'm like, oh, good God, they have horrendous problems. It's almost like a part-time job, they said, having to screen people and deleting nasty comments and banning people. And it's not every channel has this problem, but you just get a lot of different people that, I guess they call them trolls. I guess you just get a lot of people that they have nothing to do. Nothing to do. I mean, just like that global warming guy, that he just has nothing to do. It's like his full-time job. He must be retired or something. And all he does is just, he finds channels that have talked about or talk about global warming. Like I just had a little commentary just recently. And so I'm not going to put his nasty little comments and his misinformation, just because he has the agenda to push global warming doesn't mean that I do. And I'm just telling the facts that I know of to be true, and you can take it for whatever it's worth. But I'm not going to sit here and go, okay, everything is what it seems to be, and there is no collusion, and the things that I said were wrong, because they're just totally not, And so, of course, you have to just figure out who you want to believe. But there's people who go by the book, and if a scientist didn't say it, it's not true. Or if scientists said it, it must be true. And we know for a fact all the crap that science has got wrong. We know as a fact all the things that doctors do wrong. 1 year, eggs are good for you. Next year, they're bad. They got cholesterol. Even though we need cholesterol, we need good fats. It's like, 1 year we're going to have all the restaurants switch over from, the peanut oil is so bad, so we have to go to, to a vegetable oil. And then when they did that, then the heart disease goes up. And you're just like, freaking A, dude. The FDA has so many influences. The FDA and all these policies, there's so many lobbyists and there's so many people pushing and pulling for these changes. It's not based on what's healthy for you. It's just whoever has the most influence gets the rules changed. And so I think the food pyramid, even though I think they might have multiple food pyramids now, but growing up, as we all pretty much did, we had pretty much a standard food pyramid. And you and I know who really influenced that. I mean, it's just really obvious, how the big dairy and milk and all these industries really had an influence on trying to get their products a little bit more close to the bottom of the pyramid, so it's a larger section of how much you should consume. And it's just it's really shocking though. It's really shocking though that the ignorance is so prevalent. But this is what you have when you have a corrupt system, and so don't be swayed by people that are ignorant and they just pop in and out of your life. There's a lot of people who say a lot of things, and they might even have good intentions. For all I know, this idiot that thinks global warming is real, and he's it's just he may be trying to do the right thing, but he's just an idiot. and he doesn't know any better. Just like the Pope, he's going along with the whole thing too, and now calling it a sin. You sin, of course. Now it's a sin, if you pollute or anything. So that has now something to do with your salvation if you believe in Christianity. So according to the Pope, you could actually be damned forever in this hell that they talk about if you pollute. Oh, really? So I guess everything's all intertied to different agendas, and it's all political, and so whatever. You have to just know who to filter out. Because it just gets to the point though. It's like, there's so much crap out there, so many agendas, and even we have our own agendas because we have our own desires and goals and things. And there's not really a problem to have an agenda, and to have goals, but there's a lot of ill-driven, and just for the wrong reasons, basically. A lot of agendas are not there to better anybody, but just a select few. And so you have to be mindful of, are you being a part of that or not? Just like the big movement that's been going on for decades. You should buy American versus buying foreign. But then when you find out that a lot of the things that you actually want and they're not produced here are foreign, and then what do? You have that that problem. Just like this phone that I'm talking about. This is not made in the United States. My pocket knives, weren't made in the United States, even though a lot of them are U.S.-based companies. So what are you going to do? You're just not going to have pocket knives? Not going to carry those, even though you love them? I mean, what are you going to do? If your car was mostly made with parts from another country, you're just not going to drive your car? It's just like, what do you do? And so, there's a point that you have to just be practical, but then there's also a point of how much do you want to feed that monster? How much do you want to go to Walmart and because pretty much you can go to Walmart and everything you buy in your cart comes from another country. I mean, it's that easy anymore, as we know. But how much do you want to feed that monster? And so it's also the same thing about these idiots that make comments and that these armchair, commandos that they don't know anything about survival and prepping. They'll just say things because they want to be a part of something greater than they are. And because of their patheticness and because that they lack such probably social skills and God knows whatever else, basic common sense and logic, they fall prey for this. And this is all that they have. This is all they have is that these few words on a screen, and this is their legacy. So if anything, I feel sorry for these individuals because their contributions to society is nil, and they don't create any kind of betterment of anything. And so you almost kind of just I have a little bit of concern though. If these people have kids, some of them do probably. God help us. Good. What are they telling their kids? Maybe this is one of the reasons that kids are so jacked up because they're being told things are completely off the wall, And even though I've saying sometimes in the past about how poor public schools are, not all public schools are that bad. Some of them are much better than private school, I personally went to private school almost my entire life. And, private school is not what it's all meant up to, it's not all that great, in my opinion. I think I had a real mixed bag of experiences. And so does that mean that public school in general is horrible? No, but I think that there's a lot of things that could be improved, like anything else, and that private school may not be the biggest bang for your buck, but hey, I guess it just depends on where you go in your experience. And so, when I went to, public universities, I had a much better experience than when I was in, private, high school and grade school and all that. I just felt like it wasn't so restrained, like you're getting choked. And you have to watch what you say, and you have to wear your uniform, and God forbid if you said a bad word, you go and have detention, and you get, the nun would spank you or whatever the freak was going on. I mean, like all this corporal punishment, it's all this crazy nonsense, and so yeah, I mean, if you can kind of tell if I have a little bit of issues with some of this, especially like a lot of the organized religions for a reason, because I've had maybe some bad experiences. And what do you expect? What do you expect me to be like? Oh, they're all so wonderful, when I see a lot of the problems. And so some people say, well, you can't judge the whole religion based off of, some individuals' actions. And I'm like, well, when those people actually represent the organizations, that's kind of a problem, wouldn't it be? It's just, for example, like the Pope saying once again that if you put out too much carbon emissions, you're actually contributing to wars and famines, and it's a sin. I guess that he gets the power to make that stuff up. But I'm not going to be a part of that. Just like hopefully you're not going to just fall victim to just aimless comments and people's edicts, and they just kind of make shit up, by fiat. And just like our government and the Federal Reserve does all the freaking time with our money supply and policies that just have nothing to do with the betterment or what's important and what the American people need. It's like, holy hell. They have so many incentives now not to work. They have so many incentives now that not to better yourself, that people take advantage of that. And then you wonder why society crumbles, why the family can't sustain themselves. There's probably such low morale and low self-esteem in this country because of a lot of these ridiculous, outlandish, over-the-top social services. How can any good man, look at their wife, in their eyes and feel good about anything when they're at home on food stamps or something? And I'm not knocking anybody that's on that or not. I'm just saying if you need it, you need it. But there's a lot of people I know that don't need it, and they just choose to milk the system. It makes me infuriated. People that are able-bodied people like you and I, that they just choose not to go and do it. And, do something at least. Just do something to take care of yourself and not be a burden on society or your neighbors. And that's why I don't like social programs, taxes that just tax everyone. Yes, I think libraries are great, but you shouldn't be forced to pay for them just because someone says it. You should have memberships. And if it floats, it floats. If the community wants to keep it, then they'll pay for it. But everybody should not be forced or at the threat of losing your home because you didn't pay your homeowners, taxes or whatever, property taxes. Same thing with the public schools. If you have kids, you pay for your own school. Why should the masses of people pay for your kids to go to school? This is just insane. It's just insane. Like, I felt so bad for my parents because they always put me through, private school up until college. I mean, why did they have to pay for our neighbors to go to school when they were paying out the wazoo for me to go to a private school? I mean, this is the part. It's not only just unfair. I'm not talking about, it's unfair. No, I'm talking about this is tyrannical. This is what socialism is about, and it's creeped in everywhere with the Social Security bullshit, all this stuff. A lot of our programs, you can't even get much bigger of a program that's socialist than like Obamacare. I mean, it just never freaking ends. And it continues to creep more in our society. So what are you going to do about it? And that's the problem. What can you do about it? It's like every time you speak up about it, you're called some kind of extremist, and you basically never get listened to. And our lawmakers are a bunch of freaking idiots. They do not represent the people. And I can't help but to wonder when you get in office these days on almost any level that's, state, the upper state, like Senate and stuff, or especially, God forbid, if you're like, like a senator or something on a federal level. Can you imagine what happens behind the scenes? They might be threatened for all we know. They might be saying, hey, we will freaking kill everyone in your family, or we will make your life such a living hell if you don't go along with the flow of everything. And if you speak out, you're going to have hell on earth. I wouldn't be surprised. Just like there's all those people talk about, and of course, you don't really know for sure, and I'm not trying to be part of the rumor mill. But like the president, for example, when he gets in office, you just wonder when they take him to the side after he gets sworn in, and they say, he goes, okay, so what do I need to do to be what kind of things do I need to learn to be a president? And they say, okay, the first thing is that you just need to do what we tell you, and like, what? I'm the president. And then they tell him, okay, you think you're the president, you're our puppet. And then they're told the real truth, that there's actually the shadow government. There's the people behind the scenes, the actual global elite. And of course, you may be thinking, oh, God, conspiracy theory. But don't you think, though, that there is that? I mean, I don't see any other reason why you would believe anything else with the crazy stuff that goes on, especially how the politicians, they turn so quick. Some of them, I think, have good intentions, and they get in, they're like, holy hell, I am not able to do much at all, if anything. And they just go along with the ploy. Maybe they just tell the president, hey, you're going to do what we do and what we tell you to do. Or you will be assassinated, or your kids won't live very long, or you just don't even know, dude, what they tell you. And it could be a really bad situation. So there's times that I kind of almost have a little sympathy for the presidents and people in office, because you don't really know. Are they just evil people doing evil things for money and profit to just to make money on the side or stuff? Or Or are they really good people that are in bad situations, you know, and they're caught between crosshairs? Do you want to live? Do you want to have, like, you know, your family to live, or do you want to just go on and get along? And so sometimes you just have to wonder about what is the state of the union all about? What's really going on behind the scenes? And I would have think that it's probably more horrendous than we could ever know. It's probably so much more worse than we could ever imagine. And while there's a lot of good people in government, no doubt about it, citizens of America, you know, make up the course of the government, and here in America at least. And so I have no doubt that there's a lot of good people trying to do the right thing. But there's always these people in key positions that are tarnished, and they are not on our side. And these are the ones you have to be worried about. As always, you guys take care.